Welcome back to Books with Brandywine. Today I have an original book tag to share with you guys. It is the 12 Symbols of Christmas. And 12 because 12 is a magical number for Christmas. We have the 12 days of Christmas. So these are the 12 symbols of Christmas. So, number 1, gingerbread cookies are a traditional delight that we enjoy every year. What is a book that you can't wait to sink your teeth into again and again? For me, that book was Howls Moving Castle. I loved it. I loved the cartoon when it first came out, and I read the book afterwards, and I was really glad I read the book afterwards because I loved the movie. And reading the book afterwards made me get to enjoy both without the book ruining the movie for me. The book, of course, is very different from the cartoon, but if you love the cartoon, you'll love the book. It's magical fun throughout the book. It's complete adventures that I didn't expect. It's one of my favorite magical fantasy books, so definitely give that one a read. Number 2. Snowflakes are part of the snow that we all recognize, but each one of the snowflakes is different. Name a book that introduced a new concept to a long-standing archetype. For me, the first book that came to mind was Dragon in the Library, which I believe was the third book of the series it was part of. But what was new about that book is it told us that after dragons reach a certain age, they turn into books. Like huge leather-bound, well, I guess dragon-bound books that all hang out in this one library and they fly around, and all kinds of adventures center around these books in this library. But that was a brand new concept that I had never heard before, was that dragons turn into books. So I loved that concept. Number 3. Every year, books are given and received. Name a book that you received as a gift. And for me, I've only received 2 books as gifts in my life. And one of them was this one, which is Take a Mouse to the Movies. It is part of the Give a Mouse a Cookie series. And I received this from one of my good friends when I was in college, I believe. And then the other book that I received was from my aunt when I was really little. But I don't remember anything about that book except that it was a Christian book, I think with pioneers. And I never got around to reading it. And I feel really, really bad that I never read it. And I don't know what happened to it, and I don't remember the title of it. But I do still have this one. I think I've had this book for almost 7 years now. I don't know if he dated it when he gave it to me. 2009. So I received this book in 2009. So that would have been 9 years ago. So yeah, I've had this book for a really long time. And it was given to me by one of my best friends, so I treasure this book. So number 4, in the legend of the poinsettias, a young girl gave a bouquet of weeds to baby Jesus because she had nothing else to give. And those weeds ended up blooming into the bright red flowers that we know now as the poinsettias. So the question is, what book or bookish gift have you given as a gift? For me, it was last Christmas. I got the chance to do Secret Santa at my job, and I got to give away a huge Hufflepuff package because the person I had as a Secret Santa was a Hufflepuff. And so everything in the package was just Hufflepuffs and like Harry Potter candy and just awesome Harry Potterness. And it was the most fun that I've ever had putting together a gift. And I loved it. I want to do it again. I want to do it every year because it was so much fun. Especially getting to think of ways to incorporate Hufflepuff into the package under the price limit that they had. And it was so much fun, and the yellow wrapping, the black and white ribbons, and I had so much fun with that gift. It's not even funny how much fun I had with that gift, but I was glad that I got to give that to her. So the 5th one, Christmas candles brighten the room even on the darkest of nights. Name a character that you felt lit up their story. And for that, I chose The Star Thief. I've talked to you guys about this book quite a few times. It is one of my favorites that I read this year. And Honorine, who is that young lady right there, is a huge bright spot. Out of all of the heroines and heroes that I could think of, she is the brightest. She is the kindest. She is the most inventive. She, unlike other stories where, you know, they'll try to help the good people, but the bad people just kind of get thrown aside, she tries to help everyone. Good, bad, blurry lines. She just tries to help everyone, and she's always encouraging and she's always bright, and I just loved her character. Number 6, Santa Claus brings gifts to the good children, and in some stories is even a guardian of childhood. Name a character that was a guide or guardian to the heroes of the story. And for that, I chose Gandalf, both the gray and the white. He was the guide in The Hobbit and in all of the Lord of the Rings books, and sometimes even a guardian protecting them from the danger that they were facing. And he was the first one that I thought of. I mean, of course, I thought of all the great wizards, Dumbledore and other ones that I can't think of right now. But there's a lot of good wizards that were guides to their characters. But the one in particular that I thought of that I loved was Gandalf. Always a little mischievous, always butting his nose where it really didn't belong, but ultimately bringing our heroes on a journey that they never would have gotten to experience otherwise. Maybe for good or for bad. Santa is rarely seen without his reindeer. Name a favorite animal character, sidekick, or companion. My favorite out of all of the animal sidekicks, and there's a lot of really good ones in fantasy, was Panteleimon, I think is how his name was pronounced. He was also called Pan. And he is the little demon that follows around the main character in the Golden Compass series. Also, the first book was called Northern Lights outside of North America. I know it is the Golden Compass. And I always thought he was called a daemon because I didn't know how to pronounce the A-E sound. But I looked it up and it's pronounced demon. And basically, they're these creatures that are the embodiment of the spirit and the soul of each person. And so when people are children, their demon can change into any different kinds of shapes. Birds, moths, huge jaguars. So they change a lot. And hers changes a lot. I love it. I remember one of the forms that he did was a ferret, I believe, and I loved that form. If I'm remembering correctly. Somewhere turned it, but I did love his personality, and although I didn't like the Golden Compass for moral reasons, I feel like it was, but it has been about 10 years since I've read them, and they are on my TBR, because I want to go back and read the Golden Compass, and I want to read the other two books, because I never got around to the other two books, and I want to see if I would like it better this time. It was a very well written book. It evoked very strong emotions in me, which is why I didn't like it, but I think I would like it again going back and reading it the second time. Number 8. Christmas bells can be heard ringing throughout the season. Name a book that contained original music. And for that, I chose the Lord of the Rings series. J.R. Tolkien made up songs, and he implemented them throughout the story. They pop up in the most random moments, whether they're being sung by Legolas or Aragorn or many other characters throughout the book. And I love that he created so many original songs and included them. I have seen it in other books. I never know what tunes to sing them to. I'm not the most musical person most of the time, but I love that he included so many songs. I feel like it just made the world so much bigger that it had music in it and that we actually got to read some of those songs. Number 9. Snowmen that have been animated are a popular theme throughout Christmas stories. Name a favorite character that was an inanimate object that was animated. For me, one of my favorite characters that have been animated is the character Otto from Beauty and the Beast Lost in a Book. And that was a book that I didn't particularly care for, mostly just because I would have loved it on its own if it was its own book. But it really bothered me that it was Beauty and the Beast and that some of the scenes that were in the movie were changed for the book. I did read the book before I saw the live action movie, and now thinking about it, I don't remember if those scenes were changed in the live action movie as well. And that was the only part that bothered me. I think I would have loved it completely if it had been its own book with its own characters, because it had a great concept. A girl that's trapped in a castle that's seeking escape, who finds a magical book that she can go into and live adventures that are world to her with people that actually seem to care about her and love her. Of course, things aren't always as they seem. And that is where one of the characters, Odo, comes in. He's an automaton that comes to life that she ends up giving a heart to, much like the Tin Man. And I loved his character. I loved what he ended up doing. I thought he was a little goofy, but he kind of reminded me of an overgrown child in a huge adult body, because he was so new to the world and he hadn't really experienced the world, which was something that he really wanted to do. And so I loved his innocence. I loved his character, and I loved I felt bad for what ended up happening to him, but I loved that it happened and that what it represented. Number 10. Hot chocolate is a dessert that we all love to enjoy. Okay, maybe not all, but most of us love to enjoy during these cold, cold days. Name a book that warmed you on a cold day. And for me, that book was Christmas Jars. I've mentioned this book before. It is one of the most heartwarming books that I've ever read. It follows a girl that is trying to track down who started the Christmas jars. And Christmas jars are huge, like they could be mason jars, they can be pickle jars, they were just any kind of jar people could get a hold of. And they would fill with coins throughout the year. And then just before Christmas, they would secretly leave them on the doorstep of somebody who they thought needed that money. And so this girl is the recipient of one, and she decides she's going to track down where this all started, but nobody seems to know where it's all started. And so as she's going on this journey, she finds out more about herself, ends up finding more about family, and discovering the true love of Christmas. And I love this book. It's very tiny. It's only like that big, but it's a really good one. And I need to buy it again. I don't know what happened to it. I had it, but I don't seem to have it anymore. So I need to buy it again because I really want to read this book like every Christmas. Number 11. During Christmas, everyone can be found gathered around the Christmas tree. Name a book that was an integral part of your childhood. And for me, you could probably guess what book I'm going to choose because it was integral in most people of my generation's time. But Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I loved the whole series. Many of my happiest memories from high school and from middle school revolve around the Harry Potter series. I am obsessed with Harry Potter. Everyone knows I'm a Ravenclaw. I've got to post it on everything. And number 12, last but not least. Mistletoe became a symbol of love after being used as an arrow by Loki to kill Baldur. Name a bad character that you came to love. And I have discussed this character in, I think, my previous video or a couple of videos before that. But that is Horace in The Ranger's Apprentice. In the first Ranger's Apprentice, in the first Ranger's Apprentice, The Ruins of Gorlan, he is a bully, he is a jerk, he is everything that you don't want to have to encounter when you're in school. But as the series progresses, he grows into a very good young man and becomes one of the heroes of the kingdom. And so I chose Horace. He becomes a very likable character. So those are the 12 symbols of Christmas that I'll be doing this year. I'd like to do this again next year with 12 different symbols. So we'll see how that goes. I am so excited. I know I always say I'm excited to do things with you guys, but I really had fun. This was my first original tag, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys again soon.